you see a curious thing happening in the last 3-4 years since 2005. You'll see that the normal rise and fall of the water table in Hollis is suddenly put up to about 24 feet below ground surface. And like I said, this is happening in Alfred, it's happening in China, it's happening everywhere in Maine. But does anybody know why that's the water level's rising in this zone here? But what you really see is an important trend in the state of Maine in the last 3 years is that water levels are going up. They're rising. And that's directly because of the precipitation that we received. As I said, this year we're going on over 60, maybe 62 inches in the town of Poland. You see that in a lot of other places in the state of Maine. And the water levels in the ground beneath your land, if you have sand and gravel aquifers or if you have bedrock aquifers, I can pretty much guarantee that they're going up. We use about 15 million gallons a month from the Hollis site, and then they truck in probably about 10 to 15 million more. So if you own an acre of land in Maine, all that recharge cycle stuff I was going through, it all boils down to this one simple fact. If you own an acre of land in Maine, you receive 1.1 to 1.2 million gallons of water on that acre. It's up to you to pick the place that's flat and sandy if you want to get groundwater recharge and how much falls off, but over 1 million gallons per acre per year.
For a typical year.
Yeah, so in the case of Hollis, we own about 1,500 acres. You're getting about 1.5 billion gallons. The plant itself uses 182 million gallons, so about 10, 12%. I'm not sure, can do the math that fast. You know, we not only inherited those water rights a long time ago, but people started using those water rights in places like Poland Spring when the Rickers first started back in the 1700s and started really bottling in a real sense in 1845. So it's a 163-year-old business of using groundwater. A lot of you probably live in towns and parts of the state that had springs or businesses that were along railheads that use the same water resources. So it's really important as a landowner in Maine is what I'm seeing in the last few months or so are folks that want to change water law in Maine. They actually want to change water rights to be a part of the common law. So it's really important. I heard a talk in the town of Denmark a few months back where folks discussed this concept, and it's really important for you guys to realize, and we'll let Tom know if we hear more about this or folks coming up with referendums or legislation on this, because it's really a basic property right that we feel wood owners as well as landowners or a sand and gravel owner also owns that water beneath. Not only do you own the trees and the sand, you own the water beneath it. So keep an eye out for people or folks that start initiatives that start to take away or erode those property rights, because they've been around for a long time, and the reason why they're here in Maine is because we have a lot of water. Going up into the 1900s or so was the first factory built in Poland Spring. This is actually where my office is. There's a museum right off of Route 26 in Poland, so stop on by anytime and check out the museum or our office is there. And go to the next slide. This is what a bottling plant looked like in 1906. They're quite different places right now, but you can see that they're actually washing glass jugs. These guys were great entrepreneurs of Maine. They not only owned the Poland Spring Resort, they owned Samoset, and they had about 3,000 to 5,000 people working for them every summer. The Rickers did, and they had not only the great resort thing going, they were selling this water far and wide. They were selling water to Egypt and Italy and getting it on ships in Portland. And they were distributing water farther than we can today. It's very costly to transport water. It's very costly to store water. We can't transport water to Italy now and make a buck, but these guys figured out how to do it out of the railheads in Poland and the port of Portland. They're way better entrepreneurs than we could be today. Bottled water was in a pretty big decline, or at least our business was in the 80s. There was only about 25, 30 people working at a bankrupt Poland Spring by 1980. And investments started, most importantly, with the purchase of Poland Spring by Nestle Waters North America in 1992-93, leading up to the growth that we have today, the business that we have today in the state of Maine. Slide. This is just all of our locations right now in the state of Maine. Kingfield is a new factory that just opened up last month in December. There's about 38 employees that started working in rural Franklin County. You'll hear that hit the news in another week or so. It's gonna be ribbon cutting in Kingfield. It's uncommon news these days, adding jobs. And these two spring sites up north, one's outside of Rangeley and one's on the end of Long Falls Dam Road in a place called Pierce Pond Township. Then we have a site in St. Albans, which is a small facility that doesn't produce Poland Spring brand spring water, but it produces other spring water. Then in the south, we have a plant in Hollis, site under construction in Denmark, Freiburg, a regular site in Freiburg that's in use, and then 2 sites in Poland, one called Garden Spring and one the Maine factory in Poland. So it's 700 million gallons. So that is about 7/8 of an inch.
700 million gallons.
Yep, that's 7/8 of an inch off the top of Sebago Lakes. Yeah, it's no more than 1,000 acre-feet.
So my trouble is generating all that stupid plastic.
Sure.
I have a glass jar in my tank for my water.
Yep. I think that's one of our biggest problems is plastic, to tell you the truth. We've been working on trying to get our spring sources close to market so you can reduce the transportation costs as best you can and you're not shipping it halfway around the world. So our springs try to be within 200-300 miles of market. We've also been working a great deal on our bottles lately. If you notice lately, they're very flimsy. If you picked one up, we've had a 30% reduction in the plastic content of the bottle. I hear one going off over here. Kind of sounds like something popping. But that's been mostly our tack is that I think the bottles are the biggest issue, and trying to reduce the plastic content of those bottles is what I think we can do best. By making that new eco bottle, which I think is the one that you had because I can hear it, by making a 30% reduction in those plastic bottles takes about 260,000 metric tons of CO2 out of the atmosphere, just by doing a 30% reduction in those bottles. So I think the plastic is important, but I think the plastic is also a good container. It's very lightweight, you can make a lot of them, and it's not very, very expensive to make. So if you're talking about Tetra Paks or things they do in Europe with cardboard and aluminum liners, bottles are 100% recyclable. You could turn them into car parts, carpet, polar fleece. If we can get them out of the waste stream and into the recycling places, you can reuse those bottles. The same is not true for a milk container or even some HDPE or other types of plastics. It's 100% renewable plastic.